So then, we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then, the future is revealed before us, so the nations can take steps and then being prepared for what then the Creator has on His agenda. And His agenda was already explained on His holy words as we read, and then understanding layer upon layer. And when the Mashiyach was completing the spring feast, and it was precisely 490 days ministry, he then said, very interestingly, that every word would be completed. Understandable, but what does it mean speaking the word? When we understand this from the Israelic lineage, what does it mean explaining the word? You don't want to explain a word because of a word. When you read the holy documents, you have to understand layers of understanding. So what the Mashiyach was saying is this: no layer is going to be left outside of the understanding, and then the layers should be completed. This is what the Mashiyach was explaining. So then, as we read then also another section of the scripture where it states line upon line, precept upon precept, that's not true. What the Mashiyach was explaining is the same layer he explained then during the time of the completion of the spring feast. Not a layer is going to be left incompleted. So then, understanding from this viewpoint, when we read Gelah or Revelation, obviously you want to be a person revealed. If you don't understand Revelation, it's because you are not revealed. How are you then saved if you are not a revealed person? So then, Gelah or Revelation explains then our quest very interestingly on the 20th chapter. Explains in 1,000 years of the Mashiyach, as we understand when he was born, first day of the feast of Sukkah or Tabernacle, mid-month Tishri of, would be equivalent of our September, and the year was 4999. We are in the 71-3. So then, how do we make a calculation then from Gelah 20th chapter? 1,000 years of the Mashiyach, then the other 1,000 of Nahashatan. And in the time of Nahashatan was in the facet of deceit. So we've come out of the time of 1,000 years of deceit, where you hear then New World Order concocted in the time of deceit. You find, for instance, churches also concocted. You find scandalized scripture, line upon line, precept upon precept. A Mashiyach outside of the Holy of Holies. This whole nonsense was then generated and concocted and put together in a codex where people read and they are more confused than a dog on a day of moving. They have no idea what they are reading. Not only this, but then our government has decided then to build on the Ozarks, in the very center of the United States, a place over there where there is a mountain. And they thought they were being holy for some reason because the mountain has 12 gates, where they thought they were in some sort of a holy city of some mountain of somewhere, and then they would be saved from what's coming. The problem is they were reading from a scandalized scripture. A scripture concocted and put together in the time of deceit, 1,000 years. So are you going to read from it? Well, if you are stupid, you can go ahead and read it. That's why our economy is not improving. People are not having strong hopes. There are many of the investors, people earning 12 digits, already dumping U.S. stocks, because they understand it's not going then to recuperate. That's why they're going to get rid of it. And they did, a lot of them already did. So why then are we deceiving ourselves, thinking that the nation then can have a way out of it? Because thus far we don't observe any kind of a strong plan of reversing the economy. You hear these people sometimes from Pentagon speaking, all because there is a plan over there from behind, but they never explain what the plan is. And people, they are not going to be believing anymore these scoundrels, where then they find themselves in the Ozarks over there, where they have homes over there, they have crude, they have their own farming, they have data, they have water, they have their own transportation, railroad tracks, 12 gates. What about the rest of the people? What the government is saying, then screw with the rest of it. And the situation is, for how long people are going to be then trying to work out a system where it doesn't work. There is only one A out and one A out only. And the Mashiyach explained it very plainly. The Mashiyach said, during the time of restoration, because we are during the time of Mashiyach, the 61st chapter, where the cities of the Mashiyach then are returning. Then the Mashiyach said in the 20th chapter of Gelah, you have to understand Gelah or you are not a revealed person. Then explain 1,000 years of the Mashiyach, 1,000 years of Nahashatan. Then you understand the 61st chapter of Mashiyach. Then you have to understand the 2nd chapter of Daniel and the 12th chapter of Daniel. Then you have to understand Ezekiel. Those are layers working in conjunction with the entire whole. And where do we find then chapter 1:8 of Gelah? Then during the time of restoration, then the freighters. The Mashiyach said, and the freighters of the earth. The freighters are going to be in charge. Since the government, the U.S. government, has no plan for the future, they have no plan. But people are being mesmerized because of the history of the country, you know. The golden years of the 40s, 50s, and 60s, you know. And they are being mesmerized from areas of this world where they think they can come out of it when they can't. There is no plan. The only plan the Mashiyach gave was freighters are going to be in charge, and then when you understand these via earning and system, what do you understand? Instant taxation, where the government then can balance the economy. But not even this much they are doing. So then, can we believe these scoundrels? Speaking of politics, they are the scoundrels. They don't care. They have their place over there in the Ozarks already. Mountain View, Arkansas. They have how many banks over there? Quite a few. And then 50 plus people per bank. You know what this means? There's a lot of wealth over there where they're going to seclude themselves and then heck with the rest of it. That's the plan of the government. But then the Mashiyach said the freighters are going to be in charge. So obviously, the government is not going down in the Ozarks junk. That's going to be abandoned. Because since the government is stupid, they don't know what comes as far as the scripture is concerned. So they are stupid. Never unkind. But then stupid. Unfortunately stupid. Because they have already the answer, and the scripture is stating then the freighters of the earth would be in charge. What do you understand? Containers. You understand trucking. Deliveries. Parcels. How do you combine those understandings? Taxation of every package that comes to our country. Working along with the freighters. This means the government should step down and stop walking around as big shots because they are scoundrels and liars. And people they are not going to be deceived anymore. And the government has no plan. But the Mashiyach said then the freighters of the earth are going to be in charge. So what does it take? Lining up then the system of tracking of the freighters, lining up with the government's tax deductions. It is very simple. But then the government, they are so stupidly big shots of themselves, and they have no plan. They are inflated with pride, with the stupidity beyond understanding, and they can't line up, they can't not submit themselves of this fact of working in conjunction with the freighters, so they can deduct the taxes and then pay their dues. But then you hear the government speaking voluminous volumes of junk. Pentagon people representing the government, all because there is a plan. Well, what is the plan? Nobody knows what the plan is. But we know for sure there is a place in the Ozarks over there where the government thinks they're going to be there in the new capital. But the problem is the freighters won't let them. Because the Mashiyach said the freighters are in charge, no longer the government. So great news, Ozarks won't be used. So the whole works over there was thrown in the garbage. Because the freighters won't let. This country must remain on the surface and then must become active. When this system comes in shortly 36 months, you're going to download in your own computer. And you are going to laugh at how easy it is to invest your funding than in the Chinese system. You are not going to give your money to companies to do the job for you. No, you have to invest yourself. You pick out your own product where you think is the most potential for sales, and you invest it. As many people they purchase this particular product, then you get a tiny share of it. If you multiply by 900,000 items plus times 10, then you get a nice paycheck. And as you receive, you invest more. So it's always up every time. Then people wanting their parcels, then you understand what it means. Retailers are going to be out of work. Number of packages is going to quadruple. And then the government must have a plan of receiving this number of parcels, because USPS is part of it. And unfortunately USPS is bankrupt. But if they are around the next 36 months, imagine the volume of packages coming through untaxed. Because we are talking of a system that's outside of our country. Then they're going to order through this system where there is no tracking record, but the package shows up untaxed. Why untaxed? Because the government is not doing their job. They should have then submit themselves in lining up the government with the freighters. As each freighter company, they print out a label, should have instant tax deduction. Instantly. 10% every time, instantly. Has description of the product, the price of the product, and 10% belongs to the government. Goes straight through the line via internet and goes to the government's computer so they can balance the budget. Because the freighters, they want roads in the future so they can deliver the packages. Not only this, but then the economical system of USA then is going to be inactive if they don't take measures of lining up themselves with the freighters, as the Mashiyach said. The freighters are in charge. Don't think anymore of governments in charge. Freighters are in charge because of the tracking system. Then Then the Mashiyach said in Gelah 1:8. Why is it in Gelah 1:8 in Revelation? It's not part of Revelation. The translators of the time, they mixed up the Megillahs, or then the writings were mixed up along with the autumn feast. What is the autumn feast or revelation or vengeance? Is when the sound of the trumpets or shofars then are sounded. Many scriptures, they are then speaking of trumpet. It's not trumpet, it's shofar. But when you read, then trumpet, understand shofar or ram's horns. When it is sounded, then vengeance starts. Chapter 1:8 does not belong with the autumn feast. It's prior of. It's during the time of restoration, precisely the time we are living at the moment. After 2009, the time of the city is gone. New world order no longer exists because the cities are returning and they are the leaders, as it was during the time of Yohanan until 1009. So then chapter 1:8 gives you, then the Messiah is speaking with his people at some point. They have to come out of the system and resume their duties, tabernacling. But then the government is so inept, they don't understand the scripture. But then they built a place over there with 12 gates. So they do have a tendency of having some sort of a religious aspect, otherwise they would not have the place built with 12 gates. Because they thought it was some sort of a secluded city where they would be saved from what's coming in the future. How stupid! And there is a lot of situations going on here. And the Messiah already said we are during the time of restoration, so we are during the time of Gelah 1:8. But we are shortly before the system presents itself. But there are signs already coming from China, coming from the nations of the Pacific. They are already becoming more responsible with their expenses. They are island realms already preparing themselves, preparing their economy, updating their backlogs, making sure that when the system comes, then they are ready, they have funding for the initial capital of investment. And then the freighters are in charge from then on. Why do you think we have the most influential countries of this planet, for instance, China, Singapore, and the third part of the ships are located in the area? Because they are freighters. The Messiah already gave the answer. But then in USA, people were, wandering around, in the times of golden years. Those times are gone. Our economy is ruined. There is barely no industry anymore. The Messiah gave the answer, the freighters of the earth, so he's already given you the answer. But then the government, stupid. They want to cling to the USA because the past, and past is past. We've got to line up our government with the freighters and make sure we use then the tracking system and get taxation instantly of every package. Because when the system comes, then it's going to have a lot of panic. We can understand it, the doubling, tripling, or quadrupling of number of ships coming at the dock, aircrafts coming with more packages and parcels, not places to store them. And you can't believe the captains are not going to be waiting at the port all because they have no space. I don't care. Load them at the dock. They have a schedule. They have another country to go to. And how is the government then, because of their scoundrelized inability of doing trade, how are they going to stop the ships from coming to the harbor? They have someplace else to go. Then after this chaotic situation, are they going to the Ozarks and bear themselves down there as ostriches? No way, because the freighters are going to be waiting for resolution. Watching the linking up of the banks, Bank of China, Citigroup, HSBC. In South Africa, they became part of the BRIC. Brazil, Soviet Union, and then China, and then India, and then South Africa. First topic of the agenda, mining. Second topic, transportation. And then linking up of the financial banking. Of course, the system is coming. All by the USA government. Because they don't have a plan. They are as stupid as a telephone pole. And they think they're going to bury themselves under the ground and then having orders from the ground. They are not going to even get close to that stupid place over there. It was wasted money. They are not in charge anymore. The freighters are in charge. The Mashiyach gave the answer. So the only sections we should read as far as Revelation is concerned is only those areas related with the sounding of the shofars. The rest of it doesn't belong in Revelation. For instance, the first chapter, second chapter, third chapter belongs with the spring feast. During the time of the Mashiyach completing the spring feast. Then there is a time of restoration, chapter 1:8. Then links up with Mashiyach, the 61st chapter. Links up with Daniel, the 2nd chapter. Links up with Daniel, the 12th chapter. And then links up with Ezekiel. You have to understand the concept of tabernacling amongst these and understand layer by layer. But then, as the Mashiyach already gave the answer, how comes people being more civilized as far as understanding the holy instructions? The Mashiyach said taxation. What he was saying was taxation. What did he say when he was placed in the position of listening before the Roman authorities and the leaders of the law of his time? What face is this on a coin? Caesar's. Pay your taxes then. What the Mashiyach is saying then at the end? Freighters are going to be in charge. What do you link then freighters and government? Taxes. God Almighty, if you don't understand this much, then you are retarded.